Dragonsong by Anne McCaffrey. Forward. Rookbot, in the Sagittarian sector, was a golden G-type star. It had 5 planets, 2 asteroid belts, and a stray planet it had attracted and held in recent millennia. When men first settled in Rookbot's third world and called it Pern, they had taken little notice of the stranger planet swinging about its adopted primary in a wildly erratic elliptical orbit. For 2 generations the colonists gave the bright red star little thought, until the path of the wanderer brought it close to its stepsister at perihelion. Then the spore of life, which proliferated at an incredible rate on the red star's wild surface, spun off into space and bridged the gap to Pern. The spores fell as thin threads on the temperate, hospitable planet and devoured anything organic in their way, seeking to establish burrows in Pern's warm earth, from which to set out more voracious threads. The colonists suffered staggering losses in the terms of people scored to death, and in crops and vegetation wiped out completely. Only fire killed thread on land. Only stone and metal stopped its progress. Unfortunately, it drowned in water, but the colonists could scarcely live on the seas. The resourceful men cannibalized their transport ships and, abandoning the open southern continent where they had touched down, set about making the natural caves of the northern continent habitable. They evolved in a 2-phase plan to combat threat. The first phase involved breeding a highly specialized variety of life form indigenous to their new world. The dragons, named for the mythical Terran beasts they resembled, had 2 extremely useful characteristics. They could get from one place to another instantly by teleportation, and when they had chewed a phosphon-bearing rock, they could emit a flaming gas. Thus, the flying dragons could char thread to ash midair and escape its ravages themselves. Men and women with high empathy ratings or some innate telepathic ability were trained to use and preserve these unusual animals, partnering with them in a lifelong and intimate relationship. The original cave fort, constructed in the eastern face of the Great West Mountain Range, soon became too small to hold either the colonists or the great dragons. Another settlement was started slightly to the north by a great lake conveniently nestled near a cave-filled cliff. Rutha Hold, too, became overcrowded in a few generations. Since the Red Star rose in the east, it was decided to start a holding in the eastern mountains, provided suitable accommodations could be found. The ancient cave-pocketed cones of extinct volcanoes in the Bendon Mountains proved so suitable to the dragon men and women that they searched and found several more throughout Pern, and left Fort Hold and Rutha Hold for pastoral colonists, the Holders. However, such projects took the last of the fuel for the great stone cutters originally thought to be used for the most diffident mining since Pern was light on metals, and any subsequent holds and whirs were hand-hewn. The dragons and their riders in their whirs, and the people in the cave holdings went about their separate tasks. Each developed habits that became customs, which solidified into tradition as intricatable as law. By the third pass of the Red Star, a complicated social, political, and economic structure had developed to deal with the recurrent evil of thread. There were now 6 whirs pledged to protect Pern, each whir having a geographical selection of the northern continent literally under its wings. The rest of the population, the Holds, agrees to tithe to support the whirs, since these fighters, these dragon men, did not have any arable land in their volcanic combs, nor did they have time for farming while protecting the planet from passes of the thread. Holds developed wherever natural caves could be found. Some, of course, were extensive or strategically placed near good water and grazing. Others were smaller and less well placed. It took a strong man to keep frantic, terrified people in control and holds during threat attacks. It took wise administration to conserve food supplies for times when nothing could safely be grown. Extraordinary measures controlled populations, keeping its number healthy and useful until such time as the thread should pass. And often children from one hold were raised in another hold to spread the genetic pool and keep the holds from dangerous inbreeding. Such practice was called fostering and was used in both holds and craft halls, where special skills such as metalworking, animal breeding, farming, fishing, and mining, such as there were preserved, so that one lord holder could not deny the products of a craft hall situated in his hold to others. The crafts were decreed independent of a hold affiliation, each craftsmaster at a hall owing allegiance only to the master of that particular craft, who, as the need arose, took likely students in as fosterlings. Except for the return of the Red Star approximately every 200 years, life was pleasant on Pern. There came a time when the Red Star, due to the conjunction of Rukbar's 5 natural satellites, did not pass close enough to Pern to drop the dreadful spores, and the Pernies forgot about the danger. The people prospered, spreading across the rich land, carving more holds out of solid rock, and becoming so busy with their pursuits that they did not realize there were only a few dragons in the skies, and only one whir of dragon riders left on Pern. In a few generations, the descendants of the holders began to wonder if the Red Star would ever return. The dragon riders fell into disfavor. Why should all Pern support these people and their hungry beasts? The legends of past braveries, the very reason for such courage, became dishonored. But in the natural course of events, the Red Star again spun close to Pern, winking with a baleful red eye on its intended victim. One man, Flare, rider of the bronze dragon, Nemeth, believed that the ancient tales had truth in them. His half-brother, Fnor, rider of brown Canth, listened to his arguments and came to believe. When the last golden egg of a dying queen dragon lay hardening on Bendenwer hatching ground, Flare and Fnor seized the opportunity to gain control of the Were. Searching Ruth the hold, they found a strong woman, Lessa, the only surviving member of the proud bloodline of Ruth the hold. She impressed young Rameth, the new queen, and became Werewoman of Brendan Wer, and Flare's bronze, Nemeth, became the new queen's mate. The 3 young riders, Flare, Fnor, and Lessa, forced the lord holders and craftsmen to recognize their imminent danger and prepare the almost defenseless planet against the thread. But it was distressingly obvious that the scant 200 dragons of Benden Wer could not defend the widespread and sprawling settlements. 6 full Wers had been needed in the olden days when the settled-in had been much less extensive. In learning to direct her queen between one place and another, Lessa discovered that dragons could teleport between times as well. Risking her life, as well as Pern's only queen, Lessa and Rameth went back in time 400 turns to the days before the mysterious disappearance of the 5 other Wers, just after the last pass of the Red Star had been completed. The 5 Wers, seeing only the decline of their prestige and bored with the inactivity after a lifetime of exciting combat, agreed to help Lessa and Pern and came forward to her time. Dragonsong begins 7 turns after the 5 Wers came forward. Dragonsong by Anne McCaffrey.